severe. We plunder from the greedy, with blood and with our steel. We rob the rich of their ill-gotten gain to make them kneel. Behold the ocean's mysteries, the tales of ancient deeds. We follow in the footsteps of a silent secret creed. Black flag, a rollicking we go. We own the sea and sky. Yo ho, we roll beneath the black flag. A rollicking we go. We bleed the kingdoms dry. Hoist the black flag, lads. Justice runs in crimson river. Yo ho, we roll beneath the black flag. A rollicking we go. We own the sea and sky. Yo ho, we roll beneath the black flag. A rollicking we go. We own the sea and sky. Yo ho, we roll beneath the black flag. A rollicking we go. We bleed the kingdoms dry.
I've walked the coiling lines, set back 100 times, winding through worlds of weary kings. One smoke to the first, another crumbling hall, another humbling fall. Once more the morning bells will ring, but I won't be kept down. I'll just keep on rising, failure ever fading, growth in every pain. I won't be kept down. Embers keep igniting, suns will sink to shade, but always rise again. I've been a ghost of flame, a faded fire to claim, lost in a world of vacant shame. But I won't be kept down. I'll just keep on rising, failure ever fading, growth in every pain. I won't be kept down. Embers keep igniting, suns will sink to shade, but always rise again.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to another painting stream. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrew, also known as Thanatos, and this is my painting stream. where every weekday morning I paint minis, usually at 10 a.m. I'm slightly late today, but that's fine. That's fine. We have some exciting minis to work on today, and I can't wait to get going on them. So let's quickly jump over to ZoomCam already. Just jumping right into it, because I've got lots to do. So these are the 3 figures that I'm working on. The last of the figures in the Warcry demo box that I have been painting for these many months. Man, it's taken me a long time. So let's think about this. There's 9 untamed beasts in this box. There's 8 iron golems, and there's 12 of these, what are they called? Chaotic beasts. So that's 29 figures, right? Is my math right? Oh no. Hang on. My mic's dead. What happened? It was working a moment ago. Hello, test. No, it's okay. It's okay. Ah, thank goodness. I thought for a moment there that I had just cut out again, and I was like, no, that's what happened last week. Okay, good. Hello, Novocaine for the Souls. Good morning. Glad you could be here. Novocaine, I don't think that you have been in our chat since you got your fancy VIP token. So... So, congratulations on being a VIP and one of the founding members of this stream, basically. So, yeah, today we are back to Raptoryx, as you can see, and we are going to be continuing to work on base coats for a couple of them. These 2 need their base coats completed. This one, yesterday we did pretty much all of the base coat except for the leg wrappings here, because I couldn't find the paint that I wanted for that. I found it. It's the Necromancer cloak paint that I couldn't find yesterday. You got a cat? Oh, congratulations, Novocaine for the Souls. That's a big responsibility, but boy, is it worth it. Cats are amazing. Now, I get you with life being constant upheaval, but cats. She's already hidden underneath a toilet and behind an oven. Well, behind the oven sounds difficult. Cats are good at that sort of thing, though. Oh man, cats. So yeah, we're gonna continue to work on base coats, and hopefully today, in the last few minutes, I'm gonna get to use some of those fantastic metal and alchemy paints that you, Novocaine for the Souls, recommended to me, because that's how we got the nice sheen on these wings. That is just a gorgeous metallic paint, and we're going to be doing that again today. I hope we get to that. But I'm going to start out with I'm going to work on the green on this figure, because we did the green sort of flesh of this one. So we're going to work on this figure here to start out today. She's a tiny little thing. So when we first got Clara, she helped us to discover much about our apartment, because she was also a tiny little thing and also prone to hiding. And we were in constant terror of the possibility that she would find a nook and or cranny that we could not find and lodge herself in it. But she was able to get into some really tiny areas that we didn't know existed in our apartment, such as a small gap under the kitchen counters. In the molding under the kitchen counters, there was a small gap that she was able to get into. Exactly, Amanda. And she has outsmarted you thrice. Well, I'll tell you, cats are smart. Alright, so we've talked about how these Raptoryx are so weird. This one appears to have 3 eyes on one side of its head. What a weird little creature this is. I should read into the lore and find out just exactly where these things come from and what they are. Well, Novocaine, I hope eventually that your kitten will get used to you and her new abode and settle in. And I hope that the presence of a cat does not make the painting of hundreds of minis more difficult for you. Because, chat, as you will well be aware if you've seen some of the stuff that Novocaine has posted in my Share Your Accomplishments area in my Discord, Novocaine paints in bulk and gets impressive results, I will say. It has taken me... God, I don't even know what is going on with this thing's face. Because this is definitely an eye here. That is definitely an eye there. Is this an eye right above the nose here? Like, I think it is. It has the appearance of one. I'm going to paint it as if it is, because I think that's weird, and I love weird things. So Novocaine, I was telling Pi a couple days ago, I guess last Friday, that I need to create a channel in my Discord for fur babies. Because she frequently has pictures of her lovely bitchy cat that she wants to share. And of course, Amanda and I are constantly taking pictures of our kitten. So I think we need a channel for that. I need to do some work on my Discord. It needs a little love and attention. Making the biscuits. Oh my goodness. It's so good. Well, welcome back, Novocaine. I'm so pleased to have you here, and I look forward to hearing the adventures of your cat. And hope that she does not have adventures like our cat had, because that was some of the worst days of my entire life. And I would not wish that on my worst enemy, much less a good friend of the stream like yourself. So the presence of these little hoops, little ornaments on these guys lead me to believe that they are domesticated in some fashion. That is what we in the gaming business call environmental storytelling. That there are details in the sculpt that tell you something about the race. For example, we learned as I was painting the untamed beasts that one of their chief traits is that they have an enormous hatred for pants. Trousers are clearly outlawed in their society. Many of them don't have shoes, but I think that's a status thing. I think the higher in the ranks you get in the untamed beasts, the more effective your boots become. But certainly trousers are frowned upon. So there's little hints in these figures that they are in some way related to the Furies. They're part of the same army. But both these Raptoryx and the Furies have these little spiny spikes on their thighs and on their forelimbs. Not sure what those are intended to be, but I painted them as if they're horns or teeth or, something like that that's poking up out of their flesh. Oh, I can hear our cat in the kitchen. Amanda has ventured into the kitchen, which means to Clara, "Oh, I'm getting a snack." So Novocaine, was your cat a rescue? Our last two cats have been from the local animal shelter. Yeah, prior to that, all of the cats that I've had in my adult life were from litters belonging to friends, or cats belonging to friends who could no longer keep them. My cats, Dragon and Zoot, were siblings from a litter from my friend Rachel, who assured me that since their mother was so tiny, they would be tiny and easy to care for, so I should take two. This was not true. I suspect that their sire was a Maine Coon. They were enormous cats. Well, especially Dragon. Enormous. But, oh, he was such a sweetie. Just such a kind, gentle, enormous cat. And then, after that, our cat Leela belonged to our friend Joel, and he was moving across country and could only take one of his 3 cats with him. So he had to find new homes for his other 2, and we ended up with Leela, who was a troublemaker from the very start. And a very independent-minded cat. In her youth, she was a hunter. The only cat I've had in my adult life who actually caught a mouse that we're aware of. I could easily believe that Clara, during her period of escape, that she did some hunting and caught some rodenttia, because she is definitely a huntress. I would very much prefer that she would stay home, though, and live a life of luxury where she does not have to rely on catching her own food. And after Leela, we had Adric, who was very much Amanda's cat. He was a shelter rescue. And just, oh, what a sweetie pie he was. He loved her so much. He was a little standoffish initially, but as soon as he discovered her lap, he became a dedicated lap cat. He was the sort of cat who, if a lap was present, he was in it, especially if it was Amanda's lap. He would meow and insist. She couldn't, for example, have a computer in her lap or food in her lap, because he had to be sitting there. What a sweetie. And now, of course, we've got Clara. We got from the same shelter that we got Adric from. Love them all so much. Yeah, how old was Clara when we got her, Amanda? She was still fairly kitteny. I mean, she's still a kitten now, really. So there are areas, even in this new apartment, where Clara used to hide herself, like under my dresser and under the fireplace unit that we have in the living room, that she can no longer fit into. We've seen her try. She's just slightly too large now. Partially from getting regular meals, and partially from just being more adult and a larger cat than she was when we moved in here a year ago. Finish with what I'm working on right now. I have to do these two wings, and then I'm going to work on the ruff around the neck of this fellow and the tip of his tail. One thing that I've been practicing with these figures is doing a sort of fade, using sort of a wet brush technique. So I want to get some more practice in on that. I cannot believe that I am so close to actually having completed all the figures in this Warcry demo that I've been working on. This is awkward. It's just a little bit on his belly here. I can't quite reach. Need a curved brush. That'll do. Okay. So you got wings, and then the ruff and tip of the tail. So yeah, Novocaine, way back at the beginning of the month, we finally crossed that 50 follower threshold. Just need to keep it there and get myself to an average of 3 viewers per stream, which is, we'll get there eventually. It's tricky. Because I stream fairly frequently, and there are inevitably streams that people can't get to, I run the risk of having a stream where I stream for nobody, which pulls my average down. So it's okay. I just need to get those popular streams like Finishing Friday to have more people hanging out. We're going to do another Community Art Day on Monday the 5th of July. I'm going to try and make that a monthly thing because this month's Community Art Day was so much fun, even if I did completely break the chair that I'm using in my painting nook. I was a little bit too enthusiastic when we passed the 50 follower threshold and broke my chair. There's a clip of that. But aside from that, Community Art Day was fantastic. And I'm going to try and make it a regular thing where people post to my Discord pictures that they'd like to be shown off during Community Art Day. And I work on some form of challenging figure. This month or next month, July, on Community Art Day, my plan is to do a Warcry or a Warhammer Orc, 40k Orc, but I'm going to do it in a sort of cartoonish, cel-shaded manner. That's the plan anyhow. I want to experiment with new painting techniques, as I'm always doing. So that's the plan for Monday the 5th of July, is hang out, share art with the stream and the chat, and attempt something kind of cool. Hey, Lobster, welcome. So many painters do not glue their figures to their bases while painting them. This is definitely something that I've seen a lot of in looking at other painting streams. I have seen painters who glue sort of contact points or use fun tack to attach their figures to, like either cork or painting handles or something. But if the figure is not glued to a base like this, it's a lot easier to reach the undersides and stuff like that. Alright, so these two figures here, I'm going to do that sort of wet brush fade that I've been attempting on the ruff and on the tail. This is a technique that I am not fully adept at yet, so it's good to get some practice in. So what I'm doing, I'm just glopping in some paint on one end, like this, and then glopping in a different color of paint at the other end of the area that I want to do the fade on. Up here, bloop, bloop. I'm getting quite a lot of paint on there because I don't want it to dry very quickly, because the whole idea here is now I'm going to try and blend the two. And this is sort of using the model as a palette. It comes out looking a little blotchy and streaky, at least the way that I've been doing it, it does. It's not perfect. But you end up getting somewhat of a fade from one color to the other. At least that's the plan.
It's been a long year. It's been
Mushing the paint around a little bit on the model as I go.
and though your scars have hardened and have turned to armor, it took its toll. And I know
Not perfect. Like I said, I'm still learning this techniques. Looks pretty good.
it's been a long, long year. But you're still here. It's been a long, long year. Yeah.
It does give me an opportunity to sort of manipulate some paint and mess with it a little bit. Cool. Let's do the other side.
Ships on vigor of the waves are skimming barren summits to the verdant plains. Each horizon is a new beginning. Rise and reign. Far from the fjords and the ice-cold currents, rave and soar over new frontiers. Songs and sagas of a fate determined, shields and spears. Vows of favor of the thrill of blunder.
So when I was doing my Stormcast Eternal figure that I did during my community art day and the subsequent week this month. I painted it as 5 individual pieces and then glued it together after painting. That's another way to get around hard to paint areas. That guy had a lot of sort of cloak that I wanted to be sure I was able to get color on underneath before I glued it together. I need to get a lot more practice on light sourcing and stuff like that. That Stormcast Eternal was a great experiment, but obviously just starting to play with new techniques, and I need to do more work experimenting with it. One thing I'll say for this sort of wet brushing messy technique is it's very imprecise. But I'm generally happy with the result. I can go a lot faster on the back of the ref because it's not as visible. It's not as much of a focal point. So Lobster, in answer to your query, do the modelers take accessibility into consideration when molding a figure? I don't think so. I think they assume if somebody really cares about painting hard to reach areas on a figure, they're going to make the extra effort to paint before gluing. And get those areas before they're inaccessible. Water cup now. Good. Good. Now let's do the tip of the tail. Do the same thing. Sort of a fade to the bright blue on the tip of the tail. And then when we're done with this, we'll repeat it on the next figure. It's very imprecise, but I think it's working. Okay, good enough. All right. Looks pretty good. Is that done? I'm gonna get some coffee. Ah, coffee. Coffee. Folks, when I can finally have emotes in my channel, I'm gonna have a coffee emote. One thing I definitely discovered when I was working on the other three Raptoryx is that a lot of this detail that I'm doing now, this sort of fade and stuff, is less apparent once I get the wash on here. The very brilliant blues are less apparent in a brown wash. generate this, maybe? Practice, right? Uh-oh. There. You probably couldn't see it there, chat, but I just had a bristle leave the brush and end up on the model. Good enough. Okay. The tail. Not positive that I'm doing this exactly the way it's intended to be done, but okay with the results, so that's alright. I have a grasp on the theory of what I'm trying to do here. So this is very much falls into the manipulation of the paint that I enjoy about painting. Learning how to get the paint to do what I want it to do. And in this particular technique, what I'm trying to do is get multiple shades on the bristles of the brush at the same time, and then sort of manipulate them on the model, which is Tricky. My goal is to not really have a sharp line where one color ends and the next color begins. And I think I have, for the most part, achieved that goal. Okay. So that is the green and the blue done on all three figures now. I can do the beaks and the talons and stuff at a later time. I'm going to concentrate now, with 1 hour remaining to go in the stream. It's time, chat. It's time for the metallic paints. So I'm actually going to get myself a fresh palette, or perhaps just turn this palette around. There. Perfect. Get my metallic paints out. Get my examples so that I know what I'm doing. I think we'll start with the pink at the edge, and then we'll do the blue in the middle. Okay. So for the pink, this is Metal and Alchemy Kunzite Alchemy, which is a cool metallic paint recommended by Novocaine for the Souls that I imported from the UK. And this stuff is just so glossy and shiny. It is a joy to work with. Start with this pink Kunzite Alchemy. I'm going to do the tips of the wings. Oops, got a cat hair in my brush already. This gives such a brilliance to these models. If anybody who's watching is familiar with Warcry, you're probably saying to yourselves, but the Chaotic Beast's army isn't supposed to be brilliant. Isn't supposed to be gorgeous and colorful like that. And maybe you're right. But I saw these wings, and I saw these beaks, and before I even started painting these, I thought to myself, I want to do a tropical bird motif for these figures. It may not be how they're intended to appear, but it's the impression that I got looking at them. And I'm actually really, really happy with how they ended up coming out. So I debated before I started doing the wash on the wings on the other Raptoryx, the first three that I did, I debated whether I was going to do the wash on the wings, and I'm still not positive it was the right thing to do. You can see how on this figure the wings look very dirty. It's because I did a brown wash over that metallic. I mean, yes, it does give them some definition. It makes each individual feather. The sculpt is very clear, but they're not as shiny anymore. I don't know. Don't know if it was the right thing to do. Too late to go back now. So satisfying. Just that something so simple can look so spectacular. Kinda does feel like cheating a little bit, and I kinda don't care. Just look at that, chat. Do the wings today. I may be able to finish base coat on all 3 figures by the end of today, because this is going pretty quickly, I think. It's not super complicated. I can finish the base coat on all 3 figures today. And tomorrow, Wednesday, I can work on putting something on the bases for the figures. Skulls, of course, as you all know, I love putting skulls on things. But we'll add some other stuff as well. Lobster mentioned when I was doing the bases for the Furies last week that there's a lot of skulls on my bases and not a lot of other bones. That there should be like femurs and rib cages and stuff like that. Why is it all skulls? I mean, the short answer is I have a big box of skulls that I can go to whenever I want to add skulls to something. Is there a flavor reason? I don't know. I might be able to come up with one. God, it's so brilliant. I love it. Just looking at my example figure to make sure that I'm being consistent in my paint. Like, you can get away with a lot in terms of extreme paint colors and stuff like that, as long as you're consistent between models. My goal is always to make this clearly all part of the same army. Okay, is the pink on that one done? We'll just do all three. Bing, bang, boom. You mean, Lobster, that in flavor, the armies doing battle on this battlefield have like crates of skulls lying around that they sprinkle skulls on the battlefield? I mean, that could be the flavor. This wing is going to be slightly more difficult to do. It's the way I glued this to the base. It's a peculiar angle on the underside. This was one of the last of the minis that I built for this set, because I was clearly in a rush when I built this. It's got like hairs glued into it. A little bit of work to get rid of some of that. I don't think that skulls would make terribly effective caltrops. But maybe it's sort of like throwing marbles. You roll polished skulls out onto the battlefield. This is definitely going to be hard. Okay. Okay, can do it. Okay, of the wing here. Probably because this is such a difficult angle. Never painted. So, yeah. Good enough. So yeah, you know the scene in Return of the Jedi where the Ewoks trip the ATSTs by rolling logs down under their feet? Yeah, that I think is what you're envisioning, Lobster, right? Where there's big, stompy creatures menacing the battlefield, and somebody rolls a whole bunch of polished skulls down a ramp. They get underfoot and trip them. I could see it. And that, folks, is why the battlefield is littered in skulls and no other bones. We did it, chat. We came up with a rationale. Maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense, but in war, what does? On a completely unrelated topic, chat, I bought myself a new RPG book yesterday. I picked up Thirsty Sword Lesbians, which is a RPG from Bad Hat, the makers of Fate and other sort of streamlined RPGs. So, on the one hand, I absolutely love this book. I started reading it last night, and it is a fantastic system and sounds like it would be a ton of fun to play. On the other hand, I would feel somewhat like I am not in my own lane if I were to run a Thirsty Sword Lesbian adventure. I mean, much as I am attracted to women, I don't think that there's any way I can rationalize claiming to be lesbian. I am not. I am a cis white hetero dude. Not a lot unusual about me. But I love to run something in this system. Basically, the idea of Thirsty Sword Lesbians is, as an RPG system, most conflicts can be resolved through basically it's a love wins situation. Oftentimes the tropes of this particular role-playing system are the fan-fiction-y tropes of foes discovering their love for each other. There are references to coffee shop AUs and means of, or they have an entire page early on that is like, here are some ways that characters can get together. And it has a little disclaimer, this may not be accurate to real life. And it's things like discovering there's only one bed, and it's all very tropey, and I love it. When you take damage, you don't actually take hit points damage. You gain negative emotional states. So you become angry or jealous, or there's 5 of them, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. And if you take 5 quote-unquote hits without finding some means of alleviating these conditions between, you become unable to interact with people at all anymore until the next effectively the next long rest. So for the remainder of the encounter, you are incapacitated by negative emotions. It's a really fun system. So, and I love the fanfiction-y tropes that it lives on. Surprised in the shower, meeting at a laundromat. That's more porny than fanfiction-y. But there's definitely, finding yourself sitting together in class, or being forced to work together on a project, or it's a game that plays off of some of the sort of sillier elements of fan fiction, and I love it. It has a large section, like 3 or 4 pages, on consent and setting boundaries. It has a cool system called the check card, which is, check to see if everybody's okay with something that's going on, or maybe just take a pause, take a bathroom break, and give folks a moment to get their heads together. And if some player uses the check card at some point in the game, everybody gets an extra experience at the end of the session. So it encourages people to take a pause now and again and assess their situation and make sure that everybody is on the same page and everybody is having fun. Very much it stresses that this is a game about everybody having fun together and love wins. So, yeah, thirsty sword lesbians. I'm thinking about trying to get some folks together to play a game. Even though no lesbian eye. It would certainly take me very little effort to get together a group of lesbian, like IRL lesbian players to play in a game. But then, I don't know. I would feel like I'm forcing myself into a space that I don't truly belong in? Question mark? So maybe I'll just find some cool people who are running a campaign in it and watch them and support them in their campaign. If I can introduce the system to some people, I will have done my job, even if I never get to play it. Almost done with the pink on all three of these figs. And then we'll do some gorgeous metallic blues. Chat, the GM of a Thirsty Sword Lesbian adventure is the Game Master. I love it. Oh my god. Alright. Alright. That is all the gorgeous, gorgeous pink on all these models. Moving on to the blue. So the metallic blue that we're using is this Metal and Alchemy Emerald Alchemy. Again, another of these gorgeous paints. All right. We're making some good progress here. Got half an hour. Pacing myself. Yeah, definitely, Lobster. There is an awkwardness to a straight white male being the game master of a game for and about powerful feminist lesbian characters. So yeah, as an ally, I think my role is perhaps more to make people aware of the game and support them than it is to, you know, barge into their space and say, hey, can I play in your space? It's not very nice. Doesn't mean I can't take inspiration from the book. And it doesn't mean that the mechanics for consent and for a enjoyable game session for all involved wouldn't easily be transposed to any gaming session. It's interesting. A lot of the games and role-playing systems that I've been looking at to play recently have had excellent sections on how to get and maintain a positive play environment for people. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, the newest D&D book, because Ravenloft is a horror setting, spends a lot of time talking about how to role-play horror without making it too intense for your players, and figuring out what it is that your players want out of a horror game. Some people like being scared. It's an enjoyable experience. Maybe they want that out of a role-playing game. Some people would rather role-play their characters being terrified, but feel themselves to be not stressed or put in a frightening situation due to it. So there's an entire chapter in Van Richten's guide about that. Same for the Alien RPG. And now the same or similar in Thirsty Sword Lesbians. I appreciate all the thought that people have been putting into ways to make role-playing a safe, enjoyable, inclusive thing. You can have issues discussed in your role-playing game. You could have slavery. You could have your characters have to deal with horrifying things. If everybody at the table agrees to it and wants to participate in it. One of the things that Thirsty Sword Lesbian says or talks about is perhaps people are willing to have bigotry depicted in their game. It's not built into the system, like it's not what the game is about, but perhaps people are willing to have it depicted under the circumstances that the bigots are clearly the villains and cannot have any chance of winning. And those are the sorts of discussions that you need to have with your playgroup. Like, what are you here to roleplay? Do you want to roleplay destroying the patriarchy, in which case it's necessary to have the patriarchy depicted? Or are you here for a different type of adventure? It's important to establish that sort of thing before you begin. Jack, can I just say how gorgeous this looks? I love these paints. Thank you, Novocaine, for introducing me to these paints. They look so good. easier on this side. Like I said, just this wing is so close to this base on that side. It's making this awkward. Cat hair. I think I need a cat hair emote in my chat eventually. I need tweezers so badly. Okay. I'll try and remember that today. Tweezers. Remember tweezers. I'll grab some of those along at work today. Alright, that's looking pretty darn good. 2 more to go. So I'm definitely going to finish these wings today. And I might have a little time after that to do a little bit more base coating on these figures. Means that we're right on schedule, chat. Means that my time wasting with Ratchet and Clank yesterday morning, which made me half an hour late to my stream, did not completely make it impossible for me to finish these 3 figures this week. I mentioned yesterday, after having done the Furies, these folks are a lot less intricate, and it's all my fault. The Fury figures as figures are not that complicated, but I did so much intricate detail work on the wings that it slowed me down significantly. It took me 45 minutes per side per wing, or per character. So, several hours just doing details on the wings for the Furies. So, doing these folks where the wings take significantly less time is kind of a relief. It means that it's going to take me less time to do these Raptoryx than it took me to do the Furies. With, I have to admit, better results. As much as I enjoyed all the work that I did on those Furies, I feel like these Raptoryx end up looking better. The first 3 Raptoryx that I did look spectacular. And the first 3 Furies that I did look kind of muddy, and I don't know. Maybe I was trying to do too much. And they came out not as clean. Sometimes simpler is more impactful, is the lesson here, I think. You get more visual satisfaction in some cases from a quick, simple paint job from a lengthy, complex paint job. Just at a glance. Somebody who spends a lot of time judging painting could probably look at them and say, oh yeah, a lot of work was done on that. But just for a figure coming to the table, I feel like these Raptoryx have more visual impact than the Furies that I spent so much more time working on. I got it. Sorry, chat. There's a hair stuck on this model that I am trying to get off with the brush. It's a bugaboo. Fingers are too big and stubby. There you go. I got it. I think. No, it's still there. Probably can't even see it. It's so fine. Ah. All right. All good. This figure is mostly base coated. Cool. Okay. Last figure for the wings. And then we'll do a few little other basing details if we have time. Good progress today, though. At the start of today, we had one figure that had almost no paint on it at all. One figure that had a mostly complete base coat but had not gotten the wings done. And one figure where it started the base coat but had not finished it. And now we're ending today with the wings done on all three figures. Most of the base coat done on all three figures. Tomorrow we'll concentrate on gluing some things to bases. Maybe I'll remember while I'm at work today to look in the bits box and see if there's anything cool that I can appropriate to add to these figures, make their bases more interesting. Because we've almost used up all the skeleton swords and spears and stuff that I got from that sprue that I got from the bits box. Almost done. Isn't that pretty? I think that's pretty darn good. What does metal and alcohol makes a gold paint? This paint is so easy to work with, especially in comparison to the gold that I've been using, which is intended to be a edge paint or layer paint. So it's not really a good, it doesn't have the coverage that I want in it. The gold usually. Sorry, I just noticed a portion of the model that I had not painted before. Catching that quickly. Good enough. Just need to do the sort of spiny, feathery things on the chest of this figure. What time is it now? 11:59. So I think I'm going to wrap up, chat. I think with this final detail that I'm doing right now, we're going to say we're done for today. This was an extremely productive chat, productive stream. I had a lot of fun. And as always, thank you so much for being here to give me a reason to be doing some painting. Thank you for keeping me company and providing me inspiration. You, my wonderful chat, make this possible. So thank you, as always. Tomorrow, I will do a little bit of final base paint details, fangs and talons, beaks, stuff like that. That should only take a few minutes. And then we'll glue some things to the bases of these, so that on Thursday, we can color in those bases and work on some washes and be ready for finishing Friday, because on Friday we're going to finish these 3 Raptoryx. Actually have a tiny bit of detail to do on a couple of the Furies as well, so maybe we'll do some of that on finishing Friday. They're mostly done. But yeah, good progress today. Thank you everybody for being here. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern here on twitch.tv/Thanatos. Tomorrow is Wednesday, so at 1 p.m. tomorrow, our good friend and moderator Insidious Pie will be playing more Vidya games on her stream over at twitch.tv/Insidious Pie. I believe she is continuing her adventures in Arcade Spirits, which she's been playing all of Pride Month. She should be in chapter 3 tomorrow, which I believe is taking it to the max. So I believe that's what she's doing tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern. And of course tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern. Amanda, we are getting very, very close to the conclusion of the Dark is Rising series by Susan Cooper. Amanda's going to read a little bit more of The Silver on the Tree. So many wonderful things going on. We look forward to seeing you. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody. And as always, be excellent to each other and enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do. Have a great day, guys.